رضا پهلوی وارث تاج ایران، انتظارمون روز شاهیته، سرفرازیمون پادشاهیته.
زن زندگی آزادی، مرد میهن آبادی،
جاوید شاه، جاوید شاه. این ملت آزادی میخواد، به جای غم شادی میخواد، ایران آزاد شکوه دیرین میخواد.
زن زندگی آزادی، مرد میهن آبادی، جاوید شاه، جاوید شاه. مردم ایران بازگشت تو را از خود میخوان، ایران آزاد میشه، شاه برمیگرده، این آخرین نبرده، پهلوی برمیگرده.
زن زندگی آزادی، مرد میهن آبادی،
جاوید شاه، جاوید شاه.
این آخرین نبرد، پهلوی برمیگرده.
جاوید شاه،
جاوید شاه.
پهلوی برمیگرده.
جاوید شاه.
Hello, Guy, you're here. Let me drop the link. You can update us on the elections in if you can jump on. You can update us on the elections in Great Britain. I haven't been doing the updates or much because I was finishing up my degree and now I'm done. Woo-hoo. Pretty much. There's some stupid stuff going on because my school is being stupid, but it'll get worked out. Hopefully within the next couple of days. And frankly, I don't know. I mean, how much I can, like, what exactly people would want to hear from me regarding the Iran situation. I will say that I am impressed with how much Trump has been willing to play the long game, longer than I and many others had feared. I mean, I've said all of this stuff before, but I'll say it again. The Strait of Hormuz being closed hurts certainly other countries like the UAE, somewhat Saudi Arabia, but Qatar, Bahrain. Guy.
How are you? Oh, I'm Cat.
What's the name of your cat?
Esme, short for Esmeralda.
Esmeralda looks a lot like Shadow.
Yeah. She's technically brindle.
Mm.
Don't get me going on cat type colors.
Okay, I won't get you on. So, I didn't know how you would feel about the elections. Didn't your party actually gain some of the labor people?
Yeah, we did quite well. I mean, with the natural party of about 20% of the population,
Okay.
about 2/3 of whom vote for us,
Mhm.
and the rest of them don't. And so we have to pick and choose what we do, and we're quite small. No one's paying us £5 million from cryptocurrency in Thailand. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, is that what
Other
happened
people-
with? Is that something that happened with Nigel Farage? Mm.
Yeah, that's the rumor apparently. That I mean, I couldn't vouch for it myself personally. I never saw his bank details, so what can I say?
I'm very doubtful because crypto is actually very, despite the fact people think crypto would be very secretive, it's actually highly traceable.
The guy has a completely Thai identity and plays that very definitely in the background. Yeah. Anyway, we did. So Surrey, which is the county I'm in, has been reorganized, and unlike gerrymandered Virginia or Texas, they have to just carry on with what they've already got.
Okay.
Because that's what the Electoral Commission, which is independent, says that. And it's been, I don't know how long the Electoral Commission has been going. It's certainly over 100 years
Okay.
that we've had sort of an independent civil service bunch of people. And they start off at one corner of the country and they have criteria which they publish. And then basically, and if it's doubtful whether it appears should go here or there, they'll have a public consultation. And, it's certainly not Boris Johnson saying, "Oh, I fancy a few more votes. I'll move this people here and those people there," which I couldn't name any place in the world that would do that.
It's only the House that does this. It's not the Senate, though. And people, I think, overemphasize.
They can't because they're 2 per state, aren't they? There's not a lot you can do about that, really.
There's nothing you can do about that. It's 2 per state.
Yeah.
The House and, frankly, the gerrymandering, yeah, it's bad, and I dislike it. And I liked it when California had an independent commission, which it no longer does because
only temporarily. It only suspended temporarily.
Yeah, we'll see how temporary it is. But honestly, it doesn't make that much difference in terms of the number of seats. It makes a difference in the obstinateness and radicalness of the
because the primary becomes everything.
Yeah,
and the primary is playing to the worst of the worst within the party.
Yeah, it radicalizes. It radicalizes the members more than it changes the number of seats. It really does.
So in Surrey, we have now they split Surrey in 2. There were 13 boroughs and a county. So it was like 2 levels of government within Surrey itself, and they've merged them together and split the thing in 2. Okay. So we now have West Surrey and East Surrey, and that's all we've got. So there are 90 seats up for grabs in West Surrey, or there were, I should say. And we've got 56 of them as Lib Dems. And in East Surrey, there were, I think, 65, and we got 37.
So you're in the majority now in
both,
where you are?
in the whole of Surrey, yes.
Oh,
and the MPs are 80% Lib Dem as well.
So you become a big macher. You're
except the fact I didn't stand, so I'm out of it as of.
Hold on, you didn't stand?
Nope.
Why did you not stand?
Because integrity, I suppose, it's a terrible thing to have. No, the job is so that I would have to be both a Woking current councillor and a West Surrey councillor at the same time, and run a full-time job, and it's just not possible. The people who stood are people who either retired or who are doing it permanently, type thing as a job. Because you can't part time it in any with any level of integrity.
Integrity. Yeah. Yeah. That's
No, I
understandable.
didn't. And the other thing is that one of the whinges that we had about going from boroughs and county down to single unitary authorities was that I used to represent 3,500 people. That was my constituency.
Okay.
And now they're representing about 6,000 to 7,000 people
Okay.
each one.
Yeah.
So there's a democratic deficit in that. We've lost a localism that we had before, which is
Understandable. Yeah. So now that you've quasi-retired from politics, does this mean you're going to become a night bachelor anytime soon, or are you already a night bachelor?
No hope at all on that one, I'm afraid.
Really?
No,
What?
none
No
at all.
knighthoods? Why? You served honorably.
Yeah, but I was just, you've got to realise that I have no idea how many councillors there are in the UK. But there were 30 of us at Woking. Woking was 100,000 people. So say that went across the whole country. That means there's 68 million people.
I thought there's around 5,000 councillors.
80 times 30 is around that number.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, that's what I heard. As how many?
It's a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm just one of multitudes of people. They don't make what 30, 40 people nights a year.
Really? I thought it was more than that. I thought there were like the honors, like
you can get.
So
there's graduations in all this, obviously. So the first rung of the ladder isn't even with the king; it's actually with the Lord Lieutenant. So every county has a Lord Lieutenant, who's the king's representative in the county.
Yeah,
and he can acknowledge you, I think is the right phrase for it. And
you should get that.
Who knows? Then there's an MBE, which is the member of the Order of the British Empire.
Yeah,
and that's the lowest sort of rung that His Majesty will see, and they hand you a medal basically that you can put on your chest.
Yeah. But you still get to be called Sir. No. I just want to call you Sir Guy.
No. Then you become OBE.
Okay.
Which is ordinary member of the British of the Order of the British Empire, and then you become Knight Commander of the British Empire, or Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire, something like that. Then you get to be Knight. Then you become Sir. So you've got it's up that ladder.
I just remember Patrick Stewart looking up, and he got the lowest of the low sirs, and he was a Knight Bachelor. Yeah. And I was like, Guy can be I just want to call you Sir Guy.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
No way.
No.
Well, by the authority not vested in me by the state of California, I am making you a knight of the Jacob Empire, and from now hence you shall be known as Sir.
Yeah, I can't accept foreign honors, unfortunately. It's against the rules.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was being facetious about the fact that I have been following the Iran thing a bit, and I'm not convinced that Trump is playing a long game. I'm pretty sure the Iranians are playing a long game.
Well,
because
I mean,
they think long. They don't. Whereas I don't think. It's really interesting. Trump is going to China apparently soon.
Yes,
and that's another long, short, compromising thing that's going on. That basically the Chinese are playing a very long game to get Taiwan back, and anything that Trump says, even slightly pro or anti-Taiwan, will be taken, and it's for them it's a ratchet. So once Trump has said, something, that's where that's the now the new base level. You can never go back to where you were before.
So this is within
But that's the problem
people-
with any American diplomacy is that they're playing a short game against people who are playing a long game.
within. I actually listened to my own interview with Stelios on Sunday. I don't know if you saw
yeah,
that.
was interesting. I saw the beginning of it. I couldn't finish it through. I was on holiday at the weekend and only had limited time.
And my voice sounded really bad, so I'm hoping it's because I wasn't the microphone was too far.
getting on and doing the right things.
What?
It didn't stop you intellectually.
Oh, I tried, but like
He was
honestly,
deep. He was deep.
he's on a different level than I am, and I don't trying to engage him in his especially on his dissertation was at the far reaches of my capacity, because and I mean I absolutely mean it. I think people in this, I don't like calling it this low corner, but people call it this low corner. I think his dissertation is an important contribution to the discussion that Vervaeke, Pajot, and Vanderklay have.
Yeah.
For the people who can understand it, and that's people. I am not as philosophical as.
It's interesting. I've just, for the first time ever, I think I DM'd a certain Dutch person of American persuasion.
Certain Dutch person of American persuasion. I'm not sure who you're talking about.
BVK.
Okay. Oh,
and and said to him, "I've just finished a book that you recommended on the temple in Christian thought, which is a really good book. Really, really interesting book. Really got me thinking properly. And I'd finished. I've read all the N.T. Wright stuff, so I'm not afraid of a big book.
Okay.
What should I read next? Because it's actually difficult to get things that are engaging.
Yeah.
In the sense of actually that's a subject that interests me. I'm quite happy to spend a year reading a book, because the temple book took me a year to read, because I don't have that much time and I need to sort of like wrestle with it a bit. But I need a book, and so I've actually got currently I've got Amy Orr Ewing.
Okay.
On forgiveness. And Amy and her husband, whose name for reasons that I can't explain is Frog.
Okay.
When did a journey like Rory Stewart did a journey through Afghanistan, but talking to people about religion and faith, mostly to Taliban leaders, interestingly enough. I think Frog is actually an Anglican priest.
Okay.
Now, he wasn't then, but they were quite young. So like 20 years ago, they went and did this journey. So they came on my radar because they were just south of where I was at the time, in Uzbekistan.
Are you committed to nonfiction, or would you consider a fiction book?
Oh, I read probably 5 fiction to every non.
My recommendation to everyone, if you want to understand Iran, read My Uncle Napoleon, or Dear Uncle Napoleon. I think it's the translation in English is
Dear Uncle Napoleon.
It is a classic. My Uncle Napoleon is the translation. It has become a classic of modern Iranian satire.
Oh, okay.
And to a very real extent, I think far more than any nonfiction book, somebody who wants to understand Iranian society, I've been recommending it a lot.
Yeah, it's number 3. In fact, it's the first one on my Amazon books by Iraj Pezeshkad.
Yeah.
Pezeshkad.
Pezeshk. Yeah, Pezeshk Zod. Yeah, sorry.
Peshichzad. Oh, it's
Yeah.
it's a
It's
sound. Right. Okay.
it's no,
I'll write that
it's
so
a
much
Z
easier in
sound.
Cyrillic.
It's
Peshichzad.
Pezeshk. Pezeshk means doctor. Zod means son of.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
It's a fiver in Kindle.
It's a
That's
what on Kindle?
a fiver.
What is it? What's a
£5.
five? Oh, okay.
Sorry, we have a test for you.
Yeah.
If I add a tanner to a florin, what do I have?
A tanner to a florin. What do you have? So a tanner in the United States is somebody who makes leather,
No.
and a florin is a coin of some sort. I don't remember how.
So it's half a crown anyway, is the answer.
Half a crown. I see.
Half a crown. This is predates decimalisation. The Victorians, if you read Thackeray, tried to do decimalisation in the 1850s or 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And so they invented a coin that was 1/10 of a pound.
So that's the tanner?
That's the florin.
Oh, that's the florin. Okay.
And a florin is 2 shillings
Okay.
because they're 20 shillings to the pound.
I think I might have known that. Okay.
And each shilling is 12 old pennies.
Uh-huh.
And each old penny was broken down then into 4 farthings.
Okay.
And if you multiply that out, there are 960 farthings to a pound. So what they thought was, because they were clever people, those Victorians, they weren't stupid. It won't matter about the 40, the 40, 10, missing 10 pence of 40 farthings. What we'll do is we'll have a florin will be 1/10 of a pound, and a farthing will become 1/100th of
A florin?
florin.
Uh-huh.
Instead of instead of 96 to
Okay.
the florin.
Right.
It then got wrapped up. The government then fell because of the Irish question, Home Rule for Ireland, which had been. I mean, the whole thing with Ireland was a complete mess of people being stupid. But anyway, it fell away. But he then got left with this 2 shilling piece, which is a florin.
Mm-hmm.
But the older money is that there were 4 farthings made a halfpenny, 2 halfpennies made a penny, 2 pennies is 2pence. I've got 2pence, and then you had 3 3pence. Then you had 6pence, and a 6pence was a small silver coin, and that was called a tanner. So a tanner and a florin are 2 shillings and 6pence, which is 2.5 shillings.
Okay.
5 shillings is called a crown, which is 1/4 of a pound. So a tanner and a florin make half a crown, and a half crown used to be a coin. So we had a weird system whereby we had a 6pence, which is silver, a florin, which is silver, and a half crown, which is silver, and a crown, which is silver. Way too complex. By the time I was born, the crown had gone as a coin, and the farthing had gone 2 years before I was born.
Yeah,
It's
we just stopped printing pennies. Apparently.
Yeah, I know. Shocking, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Penny
I'm kind of
people.
happy.
I mean,
Although
I
haven't
carried
noticed it
cash
making a
for a good purpose for ages, like 2 or 3 years at least.
Yeah, honestly, I barely ever see coins anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the problem, the nice thing about our notes is, he said, that they're actually sized, so as you go up, they get bigger.
Oh,
and
all our
different colours.
bills are the same size.
You try and be blind in America.
Well, with the bills, that's pretty difficult. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, pretty visible, he said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Europeans are the same. They all have different colors. The Soviets, interestingly enough, did the same thing. And what was even more interesting was that they were so mentally locked into it that when they got rid of the ruble in the local currencies in Uzbekistan and all the other countries and brought in their own local som, which is half of them called som, which means money. They all had the same color scheme as the old ruble did through its.
Okay.
So the wonderful thing about the ruble was they had a 3 ruble note. Why would you have a 3 ruble note? But
So-
someone logically had worked out that a 3 ruble note was needed. There wasn't a 2 ruble note. Just it went 1, 3, 5, 10.
Well, we
25.
do have. I mean, $2 notes do exist. They're very rare. So we have one.
But one of them noted the way that when Lehman Brothers went down. Do you remember that?
What do you mean?
Lehman Brothers? Do you remember?
I
that?
remember that. Yeah. What does that have to do with?
There's a very famous picture of a $2 bill stuck on the inside of the door of Lehman Brothers because that's how much they sold it for.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't know.
Some
About
wag did that on the way out.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's yeah. So $2. I mean, but $3 bill.
$2 bills.
What?
They're quite rare.
Very rare, and people collect them more than actually use them. But $3 bill is how we refer to counterfeit money.
Ah.
So yeah, if you say something's if you say something's a $3 bill, you're saying it's counterfeit.
I've just got this picture of these two rather. It's probably from not Wyoming, but what's that other, Montana or somewhere. Where they do nice, trying desperately to replicate bills and deciding that there wasn't enough money in the $1 bills, so they were going to make $3 bills. Yeah, that certainly.
I think that is the origin. I think the origin was that somebody tried to make $3 bills, and so it. Fake as a $3 bill is a commonly known American saying.
Right. So they had a 3 ruble note.
Yeah.
In Russia, it definitely existed.
And Canadians actually they have a $2 coin. They call a loon. Yeah,
yes,
which is
with the loony bird on it. Yeah. Because why would you not make fun of your own currency?
Okay, I do want to know. I do have questions though. So what do you think? First of all, I'm guessing Stammer's goose is absolutely cooked.
I think the phrase toast comes to mind. Yes.
Okay. Because when I saw Jess Phillips resigned, I'm like, okay, once you have cabinet resignations, that's
4 of them so far.
Yeah. So that's basically it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Second question. So were you surprised by the election results? Because I remember asking you about reform and you telling me, oh, they have no shot.
In my area, no, they didn't. They got 3, I think.
Yeah, but nationally, they seem hella good.
Nationally, they did quite well.
Yeah. Was that surprising?
No,
okay.
It wasn't. We'd had various bits in the wind about it. And the sheer amount of money they pushed in and everything else. They're riding high in the polls. They are about 30%, something like that. Which is the highest. They are the lead party currently in the polls.
Okay, but Prime Minister Nigel Farage is absolutely not a possibility.
The Labour government now would not only have to collapse, they'd actually have to call a general election.
Right.
That would be the only way for Farage, because currently he's got 8 MPs. We got 72. Okay. Sorry, did I sound at all proud about that? Sorry. And Labour's got 400 and something.
Right.
So
no. So there would have to be a general election, but when's your next general election if there's not a snap election?
29.
29. Oh, 3 years.
Yeah.
So what's
So
the
there's lots of
likelihood of a
time for
snap election?
I think Labour are frightened enough of Farage that they don't want to call one.
Okay.
And
And they're the
it's in
ones
their
who get
gift.
the
It's in their
it's
gift.
okay. So they would be okay. So we're looking at a obviously lame duck government for the next 3 years. That's going to be horrible.
Yes. Well, they don't have to be lame duck. I am so frustrated with Starmer, with Starmer. So frustrated. Because you've got 450 MPs out of 600-ish. You can
Yeah.
do anything you like. You can afford for 100 guys to turn around and say, don't like that one. That's fine. You vote against us. We'll still win.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. You know, I believe the country should go this way, and I will do it. And he had the right to do whatever he wanted, you know? Oh,
Well-
yeah, he's thrown it away. He's thrown it away, and on all and they've said, oh, we're constrained by the money, and yeah, they're a bit constrained by the money, but I mean, there's lots of things you can do that don't require money, and there are lots of things you can do that make the country better that are revenue neutral, and they've done nothing. They've achieved nothing.
We got
It's
another
so sad.
Britisher.
Some of my British politics. It happens when you
The British are coming. The British are coming. Okay, I have to make this note. There's a saying in Farsi, "Esmesh Rushe," which means it is called by its name, which means whatever its name is, that's what it really is.
Yes.
And Starmer's first name is a vulgarity in Farsi, which is why whenever his name comes up in my family, the first thing I say is Esmesh Rushe. his name is upon him. Yeah, it was very surprising when they named. I mean, I can't think of a more vulgar Persian word than Starmer's first name.
Really?
Yeah, it is the equivalent of what we call the C word here in America,
right.
that you
Oh,
should
like
never
that?
use.
So
Yes.
it's interesting because C word for you rates worse than the F word.
Yes.
For us, it's probably. Am I right, Zach? It's probably not so bad.
I live in Scotland, so I have a very warped view of what's acceptable because C word is just, every 3 words in a sentence.
We Americans notice that you guys actually use the C word a lot more, the way we use the F word. But here it's because it's considered it's gendered, and so it's a word you do not say around women.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had a friend at school that used to exclusively refer to me by the C word. So
I believe it. I've seen enough British teleseries to know that. Yeah. So, what did you want to add to this discussion of Mr. Starmer?
Well, I just get excited when we realize the importance of Britain at the center of the world again. And go, oh yeah, no.
I've got my flags.
The rise of the colonies one more time. Yeah,
the bit which you probably see less of on the other side of the Atlantic is the story of Scotland and Wales in the local elections. So we didn't just have the council elections in England. There were the Scottish Parliament elections and the Welsh Parliament elections, and they were really interesting.
Really? I didn't hear anything about this.
Especially Wales, because Wales copied Scotland, and the Labour Party has been in charge in the Welsh Senate since its inception, since it was created. And they finally got toppled, and now the Welsh Senedd is Plaid Cymru, which is the nationalist Welsh party, and versus Reform. And they basically, Plaid Cymru is slightly more, and that's now the battle in Wales. Everyone else is shut out.
I
And
am
in
so
Scotland,
shocked at Welsh nationalism. I didn't think it was a thing.
Yep. And in Scotland, the SNP just continued their dominance. No one can ever touch the SNP. It's just, that's what Scottish national politics is.
Are they still leftist C words? The SNP?
Yeah, the SNP centre left and of the kind of slightly authoritarian left variety, I'd say.
So what does it mean for Welsh to be nationalist? Like, I assume it's not a separatist nationalism, right? Like,
No, they like primarily explicitly advocate for Welsh independence.
oh,
Like,
so
and then so the thing, we've had that in Scotland for a long time. I mean, we've had the Scottish government be explicitly advocating for independence from the UK for a long time.
We let them have a referendum every now and again just to show that they're stupid.
Wait, they let them have one in 2014, and then they just don't shut up about having another.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
actually, they have.
so the referenda, if I remember correctly, it's not like the people living in Scotland are so gung ho for like separation, are they?
The polling normally sits around 50-50.
Okay.
And it's been a majority no, I think, for quite a while. It's sort of, so when the referendum was held in 2014, it was, I think, 45% yes, 55% no, something like that. So
I mean, that's a 10-point difference.
yeah, like it was a sizable no victory. The polling up to that had given yes a slightly higher percentage, and then it seemed like as it got closer and closer, people went, oh, the reality seems kind of worrying, let's back off this.
Which
So that was-
which is what makes me
£100 a year
wonder.
to stay in.
This is what makes me wonder about the SNP being so dominant in the Scottish Parliament, because like how is it so dominant if it doesn't have the I mean, if it's a 10-point under, or
There are-
even
there are
let's say
people
half
that
and
vote
half.
for them for reasons other than independence. There are people that vote for them because they're not Labour or the Tories, or because they're the best bulwark against other people. Like, I didn't vote in the end this year, but there was a part of me that genuinely went, oh, maybe I should vote for the SNP. At least it keeps out anyone worse. They're pretty bad, but they're not awful, and they have a kind of interesting diversity of thought within them. That because they're set cord around a single issue, they have weirdos in the SNP. In that for a long time they were known as the Tartan Tories before they sort of went a bit more left wing, and they've still got a lot of. So do you remember Kate Forbes? Because I think she kind of came into the TLC conversation a little bit. People heard about her. She she's a wee free, so she's one of the Free Independent Church of Scotland, I think, are the wee frees, if I remember correctly. They're one of the Presbyterians that separated from the main Church of Scotland. And she's kind of down the line conservative Christian on issues like marriage and abortion and things like this. And she was the deputy leader of the she's now the deputy leader of the
Okay.
She was in a leadership contest with the person who eventually beat her, Humza Yousaf, who is a pretty generic left-wing Muslim, basically. and it was a really weird fight.
And
Just
you know,
the
there's
leadership
nothing
contest
in the
was-
world that I like more than a left-wing Muslim. I cannot
it
imagine
was
a better
leadership
combination
fight.
than left-wing. Is the Green-Red Alliance just makes my heart something.
Well, clearly that can't have anything to do with your own history and the history of the world. I
Nope,
would assume.
nothing whatsoever. Yeah, my personal history with left-wing political Islam has not in any way been a horror show.
I cut out there and couldn't hear most of that, I'm afraid.
You managed to hit some wonderful high notes for Jacob in his personal
Yeah.
political walk, thinking about left-wing Muslims. Apparently, they are his favourite kind.
Yes.
As you
It
might
was-
imagine.
Can I just ask, because it's like 20 to 1 at night here?
Yeah.
What's the update?
Okay, I will just briefly say, it looks like Iran is becoming a very, very obvious military dictatorship along the same lines as Pakistan, which I personally think is an upgrade. And as far as I am concerned, that makes this war so far a win. In addition to making UAE becoming so much more like Iran has alienated a lot of people, and I don't think people realize the longer that the Strait of Hormuz is closed, the more Iran is alienating Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Oman, actually, right? And so, like, I think there's things being clarified which a lot of people are not paying attention to, but yeah, the war is going better than I had feared, which knowing how I fear things is not really saying much, because I generally am not someone who believes wars go well ever. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens as the summer goes ahead. But like, I still think there is a possibility of actual regime change. I wouldn't say it's inevitable, and I never said it was inevitable, but there definitely has been changes in Iran for the better over the past 3 months, I would say.
Interesting. I heard that like there was a report just now that there was like a 4.6 Richter scale earthquake in Tehran just like an hour ago or something.
I had not heard of it. I had not heard of this, but I would be surprised if a 4.6 does terrible amounts of damage.
I think it's considered, I think, between mild and severe. Somewhere like 4.6 is not a joke, but if they're built for it, it should be okay, I guess.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if
I was just thinking, because like you could see all of the sinkholes in Iran from the mismanagement of water, and like in Tehran specifically, like I was wondering like whether that could actually exacerbate that sort of catastrophe.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, well, I mean, all the dams are empty, so like, I can't see the earthquake making things worse. I don't know enough about geology to know if the level of water mismanagement that is currently going on in Iran might cause something like a 4.6? I just don't know, because yeah, they've been absolutely destroying the entire the country. I mean, and part of, I think, the problem the United States has in trying to do military force is there's like, you can't make the rubble bounce all the time and get anywhere, you know. But yeah,
Gaza proved that.
what'd you say, Guy?
Gaza proved that.
No. Okay, I'm kind of skeptical
There's a
about
certain
that.
point where you can't actually.
There
do
is,
anymore.
yeah, but that's not what I mean. Gaza was not rubble before, and frankly, we'll see what it is afterwards, because there will be, but that's a whole other thing. Yes. Yeah, I don't. The real question is, at what point is Iran, if ever, going to actually allow internet communications again? That's a real question. And what happens when that happens? There have been reports of mysterious explosions, attacks on the IRGC. There may be internal divisions forming. It's very hard to know what's under the surface. But yeah, and yes, there was more rain this year than Iran has had in previous years, but that doesn't mean that there's enough water for Iran to get through the summer. Certainly not comfortably. And I don't know if it's been good enough to. I mean, Iran only produces, I think, like 85% of enough food for its own population. And I don't know if they've been able to. I mean, with the blockade, they don't have the money to buy food, even if they can bring it in through rail, etc.
I also didn't quite get, like, I saw a lot of people talking about it initially and then not much after, about like the production in the wells, when they would have to stop eventually. Like, if they can't get the oil out, then they have nowhere to put it. Then, like, I don't know if that's happening or going to happen, or what's the timeline for that.
I have heard there are reports of Iran actually dumping petroleum, and which
Dumping it where? Like, that's not something you dump easily.
correct. Yeah, I mean, the question.
Contaminate groundwater, which, I mean, it fits the profile, right? They're very good at contaminating their own groundwater through the years, but
Yeah,
they could also contaminate the strait, I guess, and kill their fishing possibilities. Or
And everybody else's.
yeah,
yeah,
that's the thing. I mean, from what I heard, they may have been dumping some into the Gulf. Yeah, I mean, it's not obvious what exactly is the current situation, but yeah, that is a real concern. And if Iran, the thing is, it's not just only a concern for Iran, it's also a concern for Iran, but it's also a concern for Kuwait and Iraq as well. And so Iran is also having gas shortages because apparently, like, they're having problems with their refineries and domestic consumption. I don't know the details, but this is, I mean, going back to what Guy brought up, which I think is absolutely relevant. anyone who knows anything about the United States foreign policy knows that the problem we have is we are such short-term thinkers, and our opponents imagine that just because they are long-term thinkers, they can just dance around us, right? It's kind of like the elephant and the lion. Yeah, to some degree, an elephant is slow and a lion is much faster, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But between an elephant and a cheetah, I would rather be the elephant than the cheetah. Especially because while human beings imagine that they can long-term plan, long-term planning, I mean, I'm sure Xi and the Chinese Politburo have things planned out for the next 50 years. I'm not very confident that their 50-year plan is going to be very, very accurate. And Iran has the same problem. But that's their thinking is we can outlast Trump. And Trump has a very real deadline, regardless of anything else. If gas prices are where they are now in November, we're going to see the Republicans lose seats in the House equivalent to maybe not equivalent to, but on the level, on par with what Labor is seeing in England, and they might even lose the Senate, which will absolutely hamstring Trump. So, I mean, November is a long time away. I don't know that Iran has the food and water, and frankly, if the Iranian people are going to put up with the internet being down for this long, like I'm already surprised with the internet being down as long as it has been, and my guess is that the massacres in January have created a real motivation for rebellious, even insurgency that simply did not exist in Iran before January. The massacres in January are a game changer that, again, I think too few people pay attention to.
Yeah, I mean, there are two things I still think about it. One is like in the present, of course, it will matter more during election time, but I don't know enough about American politics. Right. To me, it seems like the optics for Trump have shifted. Right. Like it doesn't seem to me like he's managing to sell the Iran success as some success story for at least, I think that the most significant part, even like to his base, was like this Project Freedom thing that lasted for 2 days, and then he stopped it with another like great negotiations or something. Is that like fair to say? Because even like in the Hugh Hewitt show, which you said is something like he's been doing, and like I think he even interviewed Trump. Yeah, it seems to me like even something that's like pretty supportive of Trump is getting not so clear.
Okay, so I have to say I think the Project Freedom had more to do with international pressures than national pressures. I think he realizes what I realize, what I believe, which is that Americans really couldn't find Iran on a map, and I would be shocked. I would be shocked if people don't. A good large percentage of the American population don't think, oh, Iran again. After we went to war twice with Iran, once in the 90s and once in the early 2000s, which obviously never happened. But growing up in the United States as someone from Iran, I was very, very used to people confusing Iran and Iraq, right? Like, they sound the same. There's one letter. It's one letter difference. What is the difference?
I met some Iranian who immigrated to the U.S. in a physics conference, and she said that people would correct her when she said where she's from. So, oh, Iraq. It's like, no. Like they corrected her. Oh, you mean Iraq? You just didn't say the name right. So,
yeah.
But like, one more question: could Americans find any other place on a map that isn't America? Like, so I'm not sure if that's about. I'm not sure they could find like a continent. Just like. No, I'm not. I don't like. I'm not saying that to diss Americans. I'm just saying I'm not sure the claim about Iran specifically is.
It's not specifically about Iran. No, that's the thing. Americans don't care about foreign policy. This is why isolationism is so popular among Americans. The idea that what happens, like a majority of Americans constantly say, we have two oceans. Why am I even bothering? Why do I even care? Let the rest of the world do whatever it wants. Leave us alone, right? And which is part of the dislike of globalization, right? They don't realize there's a lot of ignorance there, obviously, because like the rest of the world does affect the United States a lot.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the United States has always been up in everyone's business for at least the last century, right? But the thing is like whether that's the populist view is a different question. But like it's hard to think of an America that doesn't have massive power projection projects all over the world. Like
certainly after World War II, and yeah. I end up having to explain this to Americans who are like, "What is going on?" Is look, after World War II, there was a kind of international consensus that the United States should be the world police. The United States, Americans hate. The idea of America world police is an idea that Americans find farcical, absurd, and wrong. And that is part of what is going on actually with UAE and Iraq. You know, like a lot of people in the Middle East are like, okay, America, like we expect you to take care of the Strait of Hormuz. And part of, and I think this is actually part of the strategy, maybe not of Trump himself, but people in the White House, is if the Strait of Hormuz is so important to Europe and to the Arab countries, the GCC, they need, and China, then these countries need to step up and take care of it themselves. And that's actually the international maneuvering that's going on more than anything right now. And that's why I say I think Trump is doing better at playing the long game than I imagined he would. I think Scott Bessent, I think JD Vance, and I think Marco Rubio, all three of them very much agree, hey, you know what? The longer Iran is keeping Hormuz closed to countries other than the United States, the better it is for us as Americans. and they can't say that in public.
Hmm. No, I think when you say like Trump believes or doesn't believe, I generally don't care. Like the like what I try to tell to people, especially on the left, who bring me stuff that like, did you hear what Trump said? And it's like, of course I didn't. Who cares what Trump says? Like that's not like why would I do that to myself, right? Like that's
Make a stock
I
market
don't-
killing
what.
to win on the stock market.
Uh,
Yeah, but like you kind of still have to bet. Like that's like I said. I think Neil Ferguson said like he follows through on about 50% of his bets. No, threats. I mean, follows through about 50% of his threats. So, like like that's literally like in physics or in information theory, that literally means zero information, right? So, you could say like maybe it frames the question, but then he could also do a thing that he never mentioned. So like it doesn't really help you. All I'm saying is, and like by the way, you're gonna get sniped by insiders anyway. Like if you look at who makes money, it's like never the people who actually try to figure out what's going on. It's people who actually know what's going on, and just get the money because it's corrupt as hell. All I'm saying is, I do think that if, regardless of your opinion, if you want to understand what's happening and you can correct me because I don't I think this is the way I think, and you're closer to this. But I think if you want to understand what America is doing, talking about what Trump said is useless. But talking about like the very clear shifts in American policy in many different areas, like I think they paint a pretty consistent picture. Like they don't seem hectic in any way. Like if you zoom into like the Greenland bullshit, right? Like then that seems like, oh, what's going on? Like he's gonna attack Europe or something. But like that's just, I think it's like looking at the stock market, like really zoomed in time, and going like it went up, went down, it went up, it went down. Like that's not data. That's nothing. You can't make anything out of that.
Well, the whole point is that chaos, the up and down, is exactly where you make your money.
well, some people, the day traders, but not the institutional investors.
Yeah. No. Your pension fund and mine, no.
But when it comes, I mean, I believe, which people will find shocking, but I do believe that Donald Trump has been the best president in my lifetime. And part of that is what I believe is his actual consistency. And his consistency, part of it is, he's not as predictable as Obama or Bush or Clinton. And
try to maybe like clarify how consistent but not predictable.
Okay, so he has been like against China, against Iran, right? Who his actual enemies are is quite clear, right? And so, for example,
strategically consistent, tactically unpredictable. That's true.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
this
tend
is part
to
of
value the
taking him.
stability of the world order. I am going to have to value the stability of my sleeping time too. It's not 1 o'clock here; it's 11. But I'm still going to have to disappear off. I have to get up to go to work tomorrow and enjoy.
Thank you
life
for
now.
joining, Sir Guy.
It's been a pleasure, and I'm sorry I have to refuse that foreign honor. Bye.
I'll stay for a few more minutes and then I'll should go to sleep. Go ahead.
Did you guys hear in the United States about the New York Times article? I mean, in Israel about the New York Times article?
Yeah.
Okay.
The rape dogs, you mean?
I was just wondering how much news it made in Israel.
I don't know like if a lot of people heard of it. It's not like making big headlines in Israel, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, that is what I was wondering. Yeah, like I was wondering if the news is like reporting it or not.
I'm sure it, like I don't watch the news, but I didn't see it blowing up. Let's say.
Okay.
I don't think like it caught on. I think people are very desensitized to someone said some bullshit thing against Israel somewhere, right? Like I think we're just not that interested.
This is what worries me. This is what worries me. I think yeah, this is what worries me.
If you ask like what's on the headlines, it's the Eurovision stuff, and like that tells you. Like there was literally like front page headline like about the cameraman made like the dancer trip in the performance, like, so I don't know. I just don't think if you compare them, if that one made more headlines, then that's where things
Yeah, my impression is that the Israeli public is increasingly. I think the reason you have somebody like Ben-Gvir in the government is because increasingly there are Israelis who are like, well, we're going to get blamed for it anyway, so we might as well do it.
Yeah, I think that's generally a trend that happens in politics, right? Like if you paint someone as a monster in whatever way you do, you're creating you're removing their incentive to like restrain themselves in terms of like their public relations, right? And
I mean, this is Trump.
That shouldn't be, yeah. Like you could say that shouldn't be like you should have internal morals, sure. But like if you're talking about what actually ends up happening politically, like people are not great because that's humanity, and that's what tends to happen if you paint someone as some sort of demonic thing, and then they tend to sort of align themselves with that just because you've removed the most like dominant incentives, like, oh, I don't want to be painted as that. So I agree. I think it's terrible. I think you can't, like, it doesn't sell at all in Israel. Like even when you talk about like I think decent left-wing leading figures would say like Yair Golan was in an interview saying like, I will never tell an Israeli like we should fix our borders with the West Bank because the world demands it, or like because like that's, of course not. We should do it because that's in our interest, right? Like that's a very like that's a talking point across the board, which means like people are pretty fed up with the narrative of managing foreign relations, which I think is bad, right? Like that's something that every country needs to do, and Israel is very bad at it, especially in the last 4 years. Long before that, but like I don't know, at least 50% worse in the last 4 years than it was.
There is definitely a lot of Israelis going, I just don't care. I just don't care. I'm not going to win this fight, so I'm not going to fight it.
Yeah. And there's definitely a fatalism that's sunk in pretty deep, and like it's the internal and the external are similar. Like we're all tired. Like, and I don't know, maybe Yoav isn't. I'm not going to argue with him whether we're tired or not when he. But I think we're generally all pretty tired. There's the sense it's like we're tired politically. We're tired militarily, like in terms of like the war has been exhausting, whether you're like, especially if you're in the reserve army or, you know, mandatory draft or not, and whether you're just trying to live your life. Yeah, it's at some point you're just like you're left with so few resources that you have to stop caring about most things. You just don't have enough resources to care about stuff.
Yeah. No. Okay. Yod God says, but that doesn't. But doesn't that mean the bad things are happening? I don't like this logic. At the risk of trying to have a nuanced conversation about something where no one has any nuanced conversations, if you categorically deny the possibility that anyone in Israel has done horrible things, you are an idiot. Like, if you categorically deny that possibility, or you have an expectation of any country being able to be at war, like, let's just talk about here in Los Angeles mental hospitals, right? So one of the things that we as the staff, and I mean, I'm not higher level staff, but I'm definitely better paid staff than the muscle, the people who put their hands on the patients, right? Who are involuntarily at these hospitals, right? One of the things we realize is some of the people we hire to put hands on our patients really like putting hands on our patients. And our patients, some number of our patients get beat up. And guess what? Pretty much everybody, like, there are places where you just look away and let a patient get beaten up. So that's here in Los Angeles, Americans dealing with Americans, right? There's no actual war going on. If you have any expectation that zero IDF people have done zero bad things that they should not have done to Palestinians, you are not living in this world. The difference between Israel and Hamas is Hamas has a policy of doing things like October 7th. There's no complaint form to be filled out, right? Like, if you go and complain to a Hamas commander that something horrible was done, his response is going to be to laugh at you, right? Whereas Israel, being a civilized country, has institutions whose job it is to punish and minimize the horrible things that will inevitably happen, right? I always have in my mind this conversation Benjamin Boyce was having with a feminist, and she said, "Is it too much to ask to live in a world where there are no rapes?" And it was like, you're asking a rhetorical question and expecting the opposite of the real answer. Yes, it is too much to ask to live in a world where there are no rapes. If you want to live in a world where there are zero crimes, you are an idiot. Okay? So let's get that just clear. Israel has institutions which actually punish such crimes. Then you have people like Ben-Gvir who say, why are we doing this? Why are we punishing such crimes? What makes you think that we should do such a thing when we're fighting against Hamas? And when you have an article like the article in the New York Times, which was ridiculous, you are 100% fueling the fire that is Ben Gvir. And my fear is, and I believe I share this fear with Gilad, that Israel is increasingly becoming a society where they're like, we live in the Middle East. We're going to act like the Middle East.
Yeah, I would say that that's exactly the issue, as far as I'm concerned. That, like, yes, there are these institutions. Guess which institutions have been under the most attack by this government, and not just this government. Like, I always point to Elor Azaria, which is, I don't remember the year, but I think about, let's say, a decade ago, give or take. A soldier who shot a terrorist who was wounded and lying on the ground, and he executed him with a rifle shot to the head. And basically, this was filmed by a human rights organization, unbeknownst to him, and then he was put to trial. And the whole political system, that means Netanyahu and Lieberman and Bennett, everyone that's still around, right? They all got behind him for doing this, which means, like, screw military discipline, screw, proper conduct. They're monsters, so we get to do whatever we want with them. And the fact that, like, that's the political atmosphere that you're living in, and not something that says, like, hey, like, this guy should, be punished and maybe, like, consider circumstances and whatever, but, like, some level of realization that these institutions actually matter, some, like, a little longer term vision would have gone a long way. But to me, that was a, dramatic shift, like a watershed moment in Israeli treatment of this issue. So I just feel that these concerns, like Jan God is saying, like, oh, the bad things are happening. Of course, the bad things are happening. The concern is that that because of the combination of real bad actors that want to defame Israel, good, like, well-meaning idiots that don't understand what they're doing, and bad actors within Israel that have real political and theological agendas that like promote this. Like, let's say, that everything is permitted as long as you're Jewish, doing this to Arabs. Like, the combination of those three things is creating a horrible dynamic.
I think we basically agree. Yeah. My fear is not that Israel is actually in any way morally equivalent to Hamas. That's ridiculous.
But why would we compare ourselves to Hamas? Like, that's
right.
To me, that's like when you let someone else frame the debate, and then you're already playing their field. Of course, we're not comparable to Hamas. We should not ever, like, even make that like, bring that up. Like, there is no way that should be our standard.
I agree with you, but increasingly there are people who say we're being morally equalized with Hamas, and we should not hold ourselves to a higher standard. I've had people be like, we shouldn't hold Jews to a higher standard than we hold Gentiles, and it's like, no, this is my community. I expect a higher standard in my community than I expect outside my community.
Of course. And I think, like, that, to me, that, I don't know if that's my I don't know, inbred Jewish thinking in me, but I always felt that's a general, like, global thing, right? Like, you can you can't influence whatever is your out group by definition, or like your influence is minuscule compared to whatever you consider your in group. So your responsibility to hold one to a higher standard is always applied closer to home.
And frankly, yeah, this is 100% a Jewish, like it's a Jewish presupposition that unfortunately too much of the rest of the world does not hold.
Maybe I feel that it isn't painted Jewish in my mind, but I realize that some things are just, ingrained into you, so you don't like make that consideration to like you don't paint it that way. In any case, I do think that it's ridiculous considering like what I do know about like Talmud and Jewish thinking and everything, like how the religious pretension of people in our government is completely counter to everything I've ever learned, and I've learned enough to separate between whatever sort of eisegesis like people like to make of Judaism and what actually the text is very clear about. And yeah, I think we had this discussion once with Chezi when he said like, oh, you should talk to people in like religious language and show them the verses, and then they'd have to like they'd be embarrassed. I'm like, no, they won't. They don't care. They never do. Like I do it, but once people get politicized or fanaticized or whatever, like they don't care about their own religion, even if you point them to the verses.
Yeah, I mean, I think you might be overgeneralizing a bit, but I don't think you're wrong.
I'll take that. I guess we're in agreement. I was overgeneralizing.
Okay. Yeah. Oy, Gilad, what are we gonna do with this world that doesn't live up to our standards? We're such great people, and nobody else is as great as we are.
I had a similar discussion recently about like a friend told me that she was sad about like a certain way that certain people think about things like morally, and I was like, that's like very like condescending and kind of childish, right? Like being sad about why don't people have aren't more as the ideal of how I think people should be, is a kind of juvenile thought, I think.
Yeah.
People are people.
Yes.
I had one more thing I wanted to say, but before I go, I'm trying to recall what it was. It was a while ago, but I remember like I listened to a stream where I think it was probably Yoav claiming it that like with the drones that are currently existing, like no oil constellation is safe and everything's going to blow up because anyone can do anything with a drone. And I'm like, I mean, you could say the same about like a motorcycle bomb or something. Like it's a technological thing. Like what does a drone do that an artillery shell can't do? It does some things, right? Like you don't have a launcher that you need to use many times. You have a single drone and it has a fiber optic cable. But like when you look at the Russia-Ukraine war, they're constantly, you can see the cat and mouse going on constantly. Every time like Ukraine has to pay too much to intercept the cheaper Russian drones, and then they come up with a much cheaper way to intercept the drones, and then Russia comes up with something, even more price effective, or that, counters those defenses. And you really, to me, the notion that, 4 propellers and a fiber optic cable is like the final word in warfare. No one will manage to deal with, this technological innovation.
I wouldn't say no one will manage, but look, there's a reason why Russia didn't have its normal May Day parade this year.
Yeah. And it's not just drones. That's a serious, they blocked the internet. They, it was a very strong display of weakness.
We've moved into a different generation of warfare, right? And I think you have to recognize, look, the difference between a motorcycle and a drone is a drone flies, right? You really have added a new dimension to warfare, which missiles, but missiles take a really long time and you can see them coming, or artillery shells, you have to have the artillery to launch the shells. There is something going on, and I think Saudi Arabia, Iraq, they, at least the two of them, need to come to terms with the fact that they can't have a rabid dog like Iran next door to them.
No, for sure. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying one of the, I think, more serious analysts I've listened to was saying, people are talking about, I don't know, terrorists with they'd have 10,000 drones and they could do whatever they want. And if drones are your, that's your concern, it's a solvable concern, right? There's, different ways. There's also different ways you can deal with fiber optic drones, and there are, very specific geographies that they can operate on and can't. The main issue right now, if you want to put it where it's standing, is detecting them at lower altitudes. That's the problem at the moment. It's not that, because when you have a fiber optic drone, if it's not fiber optic, you can jam it, and if it's a fiber optic drone, then it has to move a lot more slowly, because it's literally carrying a spool for the fiber that it has to carry with it, and then it's not very maneuverable. So it's very predictable. If you know that it's there, then you can send an even cheaper drone with very little explosives to blow it up, and it can't run away and can't maneuver because it's carrying a spool of fiber optic cable. It can't not do that.
I thought that they're starting wireless communication has become pretty, because I was wondering about Israel operating drones in Tehran, and Yosef actually said he thinks range isn't as much of a problem anymore.
Yeah, but the range isn't a problem. Jamming is a problem. If you talk about what drones were up until, I don't know, last year. Not the calendar year, that's just 4 months, but a year ago, then there was mostly standard signal drones, and then you have electronic warfare, which is also pretty standard. What frequencies you work on, what frequencies are jammed, how do you stop the communication between the operator and the drone? You deny communications, you deny image, a lot of different things, and that's common. And then in Ukraine, the fiber optic drones became very popular, because basically you stick it somewhere, like, you know, bind the edge of the thread to the ground, and then you can fly it as long. And it's like, specifically in Ukraine, it's a very flat terrain. Like, if you had to fly a drone over a hill and then down again, then, like, physically the thread's gonna get stuck in the trees.
Right.
So like, you know, it has a lot of limitations. And the thing about fiber optic drones is that they're not jammable. But guess what? It has trade-offs, because now they're not maneuverable.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, it was just, I don't like the, like you said about nuance. I don't like it when people make like generalizations that don't have the backing in the numbers. And it's similar with the war in Iran. Like, with I think my dad says, like, you know, so this is what I thought would happen. You know, you'd have, you know, we'd blow up some stuff, and eventually they'll rebuild some stuff, and, you know, there'll be whatever we could achieve before the war is going to be like. And I said, like, okay, but how much, right? Like, how much would be, before you know what happened in the war, like, how much would be worth it theoretically? Is it like, is there no threshold? It was the same with the hostages in Gaza. Like, I had, on one hand, like, there's like, we have to make a deal at any cost. And then I had a friend who said, like, we should never make a deal at no cost. I'm like, really? If it's 5 shekels, right? Like, you can save so many lives, and the enemy is clearly losing out, and you would not save those lives out of principle, right? That does not make any sense to me. So like, I just don't like to live in a world where we talk about things in such an abstract way that they just never come down. Like, there's never a point where the rubber hits the road. I don't like that.
This is the greatest compliment I have ever given you. You have a very Talmudic mind.
Well, I mean, I've always enjoyed the Talmud. That's what I can say. I never understood why people don't enjoy it, but that's just me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people, it's difficult stuff, but yeah.
I think if you really like theater, then you probably would also like Talmud.
Really?
Like, theater, when you actually need to study for, like, I did theater in high school.
Okay.
If you need to actually study for a character when you're acting, then you don't just, like, assume, oh, that's what he meant when he said this. You have to go over the entire thing. You have to make assumptions. Why is he saying this? Why this? And then, like, you go, like, it's called, like, the scarab method. I think Jacob Shatai, so, like, you go back and forth over the entire text until you manage to find an interpretation that makes sense. Like, who is this character? What is he trying to achieve? And every mimic that you make on stage has to be an action. You're trying to do something, you know, towards your partner on stage, towards the other character that's acting. And if you don't know what you're doing, then you're not an actor. Like, it's in the name. You have to act. There have to be actions. And I think, like, to me, it was very reminiscent, because I studied Talmud after I finished high school, and it was like the same sort of thing. Like, they're saying this. Why are they saying this? Well, they said this before. How would it make sense if we look at the entire text for them to be like, if you assume, and this is like the problem with bad plays or bad books or anything, if you assume that the author is brilliant, then everything has a reason. Nothing is there by chance.
Yeah.
And then you can, like, unravel the whole thing. If the writer's bad, then you have no chance. Like, it's just, you know, you're trying to find, something that's not there.
I hear you.
Huh? Go ahead.
I said, I hear you.
And I think on that note, I really should go to sleep.
Good night, my friend. Be well. Be safe.
You too. Thanks for the update. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, so Lucky thinks I spend too much time paying attention to you guys, and possibly I do. How many people are watching? There are 10 people watching. If any of those 10 people have questions, want to jump on, have comments, etc., please do let me know. But otherwise, I might end up closing this out. Goodbye. Khezi just joined us. Hello, Khezi. You might have stuff to say about the stuff we said. You were brought up before. But how much time should I give it? Tell you what, I am going to do a 5-minute countdown, and then I am going to see who showed up, and I'm going to see what general agreement. Okay. So there we go. See what comments, etc. there are, and then we will possibly end this stream. So Paul is confused. He says, I'm confused. Are you restarting the stream? Are you going back to the title? I was giving myself some time to get some water, to take care of Lucky a little bit. If there are people who want to join, Paul, then we can continue going. I was also giving people time to comments, questions if they have them. If not, then I'll just end the stream. So that was what was going on. And frankly, I would have ended the stream, but then Paul's like, hey, I'm here. Who's Corax? There's PDK. Paul Vanderclay.
Hey, doing, Jacob?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Just I was listening to some of what you were saying about Iran. It is. You sort of wonder. Everyone wonders when, where, how this will break, because it's not in the interest of either side to have this go on definitely. And so it's all a matter of who's going to blink first. And I think it's just hard to know. And I think a lot of it's going to be who feels how much pain when.
So Iran is very much betting on Americans are paper tigers. They can't take any pain. Anything we do to them stops them from, and that's the bet. I think Trump has already gone far beyond what they imagined he would be able to. And frankly, I think there's some degree of people in Iraq and Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and even Europe were kind of thought, okay, like when is the United States going to blink? And look, there's a lot of pressure on the United States and Trump to blink. Yeah. And I'm surprised that he hasn't.
Well, he's kind of in a corner too, because if he gets a worse deal than Obama and the straits aren't completely open, then in effect, he's lost the war in the eyes of many. And he doesn't like to lose.
Yeah.
So it's going to, there's a lot of speculation about whether or not, what's going to happen with respect to this trip to China, which, of course, the U.S. blockade of Iranian oil that would go to China is important because, it's just everybody's holding different cards here. And, it looks like the Pakistanis are the ones who are sort of being in the middle, because I heard that some liquefied LNG has been getting to Pakistan. So clearly both the Americans and the Iranians are letting the Pacs LNG get through because they need it.
That might be through land routes.
No, it's shipping. It has to be shipping.
Okay.
But if they could just be following because for a while, tankers that followed Iranian coastal waters could get into Pakistan, and then America would interdict them later when they left, when they had to go into international waters. But I think part of what's really interesting, and I think your point is well made, that this is just going to increasingly put a lot of pressure on the Europeans and the South Koreans and the Japanese to basically get involved, because they're going to be the ones that start really feeling the pain, and they've got a degree of capacity. I mean, they could participate in something, and that's when pressure's really going to get on Iran, when basically the rest of the world says you have to turn it on again or it's going to get existential for us. And I think that's Trump's biggest card.
It is. I'm not sure I trust Trump to know that, but I do trust Besant, Besant and Rubio to know that, and I think that may be. Look, the rest of the world is trying to have its cake and eat it too. They want the United States to be the bad guy. They want the United States to take care of things. They don't want to be, and I really do think at least Rubio and Besant are kind of like sitting back, going, "Here, you want Iran? You want us not to go ahead? This is what's going to happen." And there's this thing going on with soft power versus hard power, where a lot of the foreign policy establishment in the United States prided itself on its soft power, United Nations, and Trump and his administration very much think words are wind, and I don't need to come to the UN and get a security resolution to open up the Strait of Hormuz. I'm not going to go to the UN. I don't care about that institution. And you guys are going to have to recognize the realities of the situation. And it's a clarifying moment in international relations, which, frankly, I don't see the discussion being genuinely had anywhere. Like, most Americans don't even care.
And what you said before, is the young man, is he Israeli? That was on
Gilad, yeah.
So but you were exactly right, and it's not. I mean, we're not. Maybe we're a little insulting to our own nation, but you're exactly right that most Americans can't find it on a map. What they care about is gas is more expensive. That's what they care about. And if this continues, and there continues to be supply chain issues, those kinds of things, then Americans vote on very simple metrics, many of them, not all. Am I better off? Ronald Reagan said it. Am I better off? And they're thinking financially than I was 4 years ago. Yes or no? And they just basically flip the parties in and out according to that metrics. That's what they do. And even, a place like California, I mean, as you well know, I mean, the LA governor, the LA mayor, situation is hilarious. And our state, governor thing, it's like, oh, wow. It's just, politics is just crazy right now.
I was
not in a happy way.
I was at a family bat mitzvah, and one of my cousins, who is in no way political at all, was like, "Yeah, everybody has to vote. You have to vote." And I mean, it was really shocking to me when there was a situation a few years back when it was like 4 years ago. One of my cousins brought a petition to a bar mitzvah and asked people to sign. Yeah. Like at the party.
But at a Christian thing, if you bring up, that just kind of be a little.
Well, it's a family thing. It was a family, like it's like bringing it to a wedding, Can you imagine somebody brings a petition to a wedding?
No.
But the reason it wasn't, and this isn't somebody who's very political and everybody rolls their eyes at. We have those too in my family, right? But the fact is, like, you can't be Persian, Jewish, and involved in the community and not be a Republican anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
The Persian Jewish community, has zero tolerance for Democrats. Zero tolerance for Democrats.
But that's the Persian Jewish community. How about the more secular LA Jewish community?
Of course not. No. The secular, that's completely different. No. Although I have to say, Orthodox Jews are becoming more and more forget. It's becoming kind of like evangelicals, actually. It's becoming kind of like evangelicals, where there's some neutrality, and you do get, some people who are more liberal, etc. But your average person in the pews, for Orthodox Jews, and I mean, I don't know if you heard, but Hebrew Union College graduated its last class last week.
What is Hebrew Union College?
Hebrew Union College is the Reform Seminary. They're
closing, huh?
Their Cincinnati campus. Yeah, their original campus in Cincinnati closed. This is last week was their final class of 4 rabbis they graduated.
So their numbers are that bad.
Hebrew Union College used to have 4 campuses. It's going down. One in Jerusalem, which it still has. One in Los Angeles, which kind of is semi-closed. One in New York, which is going to be its only campus, basically. Its only real campus. The one in Jerusalem, everybody has to go. The first year and I don't know when they started this, but it might have been a while ago, but first year rabbinical students all have to go to Israel for their first year. But the Cincinnati campus that's where Reform was founded. And the Cincinnati campus, officially closed this past week.
It's so interesting to me because of this, much bigger thesis of, this recession of secularity, and the point that this project of having a Judaism that basically mirrors mainline Christianity, there's just no point to it.
Yeah.
No point to it.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty much abandoned, because if you're a liberal, secular, politically progressive Jew, why would you? I mean, so then is it for them did you listen to Brett Weinstein talk with Jonathan Peugeot and Jordan Hall?
I did.
Because when I listen to the Weinsteins, I hear they didn't let him. He wanted to have a bar mitzvah. We don't do that, but we still celebrate.
How long ago was this?
Well, this is Brett and Eric growing up.
Yeah, but how long ago was this discussion?
Oh, well, that was actually Brett went into more details with his conversation with Tucker Carlson a few months ago when he was describing growing up. So the Brett Weinstein, Tucker Carlson conversation was quite interesting, because basically both of them were saying, when we were growing up in La Jolla, just, because you and I know where that is, and you and I sort of know what that is. When we were growing up there, Tucker Carlson was basically saying to be Episcopalian was like being a Reformed Jew. And Eric or Brett was basically saying, yeah, we didn't go to synagogue or anything like that, but we were Jewish. And so what being Jewish meant was like being really smart and talking about ideas and being progressive politically.
Yeah.
That was their religion.
Yep. Yeah. This video, The Secret History of Reform Judaism, is 7 minutes long. And Yosef sent it. It just came out. He doesn't actually mention, I think he's a Reform rabbi. He doesn't actually mention that Hebrew Union College closed its Cincinnati campus. By the way, the conservative seminary, the main campus is in New York, JTS, Jewish Theological Seminary. They had a seminary here in Los Angeles, which they closed down after and sold the campus after COVID, right? So both of them are shrinking. But this guy, he basically, I mean, it's a very interesting video. I highly recommend you spend the 7 minutes.
I just queued it up because to me, again, I mean, this stuff is just fascinating because it gets into, you know, what is my obsession, which are sort of the deep roots of people and religion and all of this. And so it's always fun to look at it in alternative silos, you know, because I'm too deeply in the Christian thing to, you know, got all those internecine fights, but then you've got this, you know, fascinating. So you've probably not watched this Tucker Carlson, Brett Weinstein conversation that they had?
They spent some time. I didn't watch the entire thing. They spent some time talking about Israel in ways that made the entire Jewish community roll their eyes at Brett Weinstein. On my Vanderclips channel, I made about 22 minutes of that, where they get into this question about how Brett grew up, and Tucker Carlson kept saying, yeah, we're the same, you and me. And it was just fascinating. Oh, I mean, this video here, I'll subject you to the first 30 seconds.
On July 17, 1810, a wealthy German businessman named Israel Jacobson walks into a chapel in Zessen, Lower Saxony, wearing a black clerical robe. Behind him, a parade of rabbis, Christian ministers, and local dignitaries. Inside, a pipe organ starts playing. A choir sings hymns in German. The tunes are borrowed from Protestant chorals. This is the first Reformed Jewish service in history, and it looks almost exactly like a Lutheran church service. It's not a coincidence, it's the whole point. The standard story of Reformed Judaism starts with ideas, the Enlightenment, modernity, reason over ritual. But the men who actually built it weren't sitting in salons debating Kant. Jews across Western Europe are converting to Christianity in enormous numbers. And the reformers aren't trying to rethink Judaism. They're trying to make it look enough like church that educated Jews will stop leaving.
Wow. Because I think back about, so I think to my ancestors.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what they did when they were in the Netherlands. But when my great-great-grandfather moved to Spring Lake, Michigan, he starts at the Reformed Church with, you know, everyone there. And, you know, and then by the time we get down to my generation, like, Jewish ancestry is a family secret that we tried to sort of, you know,
it's the estuary. Your family was the estuary. Like I remember doing the genealogical research on your family, and you could see exactly when he married a shiksa, right? One of the boys marries, and yes, that is a derogatory term. I'm not actually using it, whatever. But he marries a Gentile woman, right? And I think you found her baptismal record. So she was baptized, right? Yeah. And the rest of the family, like, I'm serious when I say, like, your cousins are prominent rabbis in Israel. They are, right? They were in this situation where too Jewish for the Christian community and not Jewish enough for the actual Jewish community, right? Where there's in this, and that's what reform is. I call it an off-ramp on the road to Jerusalem, right? It's like you have Judaism, and then you have these off ramps which large amounts of Jews take, where okay, they want to marry a Gentile, they fell in love, whatever. They don't actually want to keep, all of the things that the Jewish community demands of them. And
Have you?
yeah, we've always had this buffer between the Jews, the Gentiles, and this estuary like thing, and that's what reform is. And they are actually being more honest about it. That's why this video is the secret history. Like, this is the types of stuff that reform Jews get mad at when you point them out, but like the people who know that it's true.
That's so interesting. Have you seen this Netflix show with, is it Kristen Bell, where she falls in love in LA with a young hip rabbi? There's a Netflix show. It's like in its second season.
I think I've heard of it. Yeah.
I was watching that and I was just like,
have you seen The Jazz Singer?
No.
Okay, so The Jazz Singer was the first talkie movie. If I have my thing right, but I'm pretty sure I do, right? And then it was remade by Neil Diamond. And this story is the story rabbi's son makes it in the Gentile world as a singer, right? And the ending scene, I'm going to spoil it for people. Go 20 seconds ahead if you don't want the entire movie spoiled. But the ending scene is he goes back to his father's synagogue, and he's the cantor for Yom Kippur, and his Gentile wife is in the synagogue with him, and she's accepted. Right? This is the Jewish American dream.
Wow. Because you're exactly right. Because in that show, he is married, he is engaged to the right girl he should marry, but then he breaks off the engagement, falls for the Kristen Bell character who's irreverent. She's on this podcast where she and her girlfriend talk sex all the time, like these women podcasts. And the whole show is about, how he's so enlightened and can bring her in, and he's getting resistance from his would-be mother-in-law and his mom. I mean, and it's just so, I'm watching this just thinking, because there's a part of America that watches this and just says, yeah, Blue Church keeps winning. And there seems to be growing America that says, we don't want to have any part of it. And you have no idea when it's sort of like your house is on a hillside and it's eroding, and at some point it's going to fall into the ocean. And if you didn't kind of get the clue when Donald Trump was elected not once, but twice, that your world is coming to an end.
Okay, speaking of synod,
I was going to make a synod video, and it's like, should I talk to Jacob or should I make a synod video?
Well, you're doing both. Did you watch my modest proposal?
No.
I thought once you see the thumbnail, you would definitely have watched my modest proposal.
Oh no! What have you done now, Jacob?
Oh, I
look for it.
It was a very modest proposal. It was very, very modest. I actually invited Lloyd, and I tried to invite Cedric, but for some reason he seems to have fallen off the face of the earth.
Cedric is the delegate this year.
Okay, so even more reason why he can't actually speak to me. But I talked a little bit to Lloyd about my modest proposal. I actually think it's a brilliant proposal.
Where is this?
Here, I will. I think I called it modest proposal. Let me find it. Oh, come on. Come on. You couldn't find this on my channel?
I'm looking at your channel right now.
At live?
Yeah.
From 2 weeks
Live.
ago? Come on, look at that thumbnail. You're in the middle of the thumbnail. Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't whatchamacallit, like
Oh,
I had whatchamacallit, Grok make a much better version of let me see if I can pull up just the thumbnail.
Jacob, what did you do? What is your modest proposal?
Well, so I went about it a little, I guess, a little too roundabout way. And so I think Lloyd thought, come on, you love this picture.
That's hilarious. Who's the guy in chains?
Who
Is
do
that
you
Servetus?
think? Who else? Who would be in chains on the campus of
Okay.
Calvin University?
Go on.
So my modest proposal, and Lloyd thought I was proposing a bishop at the level, at the synod level. I actually think that each classis should consider 2 or more bishops.
Well, there are some people in the Christian Reformed Church that would agree with you. My friend Eric Dirksen over in Davis. And the truth is that each classis has implicit bishops.
Of course they do.
Just always true.
Of course they do.
But the difference between an implicit bishop and a real bishop is that when a real bishop says something like people move churches, people lose jobs, buildings get sold, that's what real bishops do. Implicit bishops just nudge a system.
I mean, the CRC is never going to have a monarchical bishop, and it shouldn't have a monarchical bishop. But at least when you're talking about a multi-site church, it seems to me like if I were doing it, you can have like dual vocation pastors, etc. You need a bishop, and the bishop, it shouldn't lord it over the other pastors, right? But can be like, if you're going to have multiple sites, then I think what you need to have is a minister for each site and a bishop among the ministers.
That's when you have non-denominational and evangelical multi-site churches, you usually have the senior pastor, and he's essentially a bishop.
Yeah.
That's the way that they work it.
And that's what I said to Lloyd is I'm just saying explicitly start having senior pastors in the CRC, because that will give you another level of authority between I wouldn't even say between classis and synod. I would actually say between classis and church.
Yeah, we kind of that's sort of developed. So in my classis, we have our Sacramento cluster, which is sort of that. So we get together monthly in the Sacramento area, but there are a lot of CRC churches, especially out west here, that are more isolated, and they're just sort of one-offs. And one of the things that we did in our classes was very much that. We organized all of the churches into another level because our classis is one of the largest ones in the denomination. So we kind of organized another level beneath, and that has functioned. The challenges for the Christian Reformed Church, this is if I make a video, that was my time. The challenges for the Christian Reformed Church is that all of our attention was focused on the same-sex marriage fight. And that fight is now definitively behind us. And people have left the denomination, not a very large number, but some have. And
apparently a lot fewer than people thought.
Oh, yeah. That's because everyone who, it's the same thing as the Reformed, it's the same thing as the Reformed Jewish seminary thing. It's that everyone 40 years ago that would have been on the side of the church to fight that fight, they're all gone. They don't bother coming to church. They're just nothing. So, but now the CRC has to figure out what it is again. Because, so the immigrants come and the CRC grows because it's not the RCA. We're going to do Dutch language. We're going to do, a bunch of these early things. And then the CRC continues to morph, but it's still more Dutch. And now, it was interesting because there's this paper that because the CRC is feeling existentially at threat, because of our aging demographic, et cetera, there's again a big push for church planting again. But it's different from the big push for church planting that we had when I got to Sacramento in '97. And there's the model that's sort of in South Florida that some people want to follow, but that's not really going to work in anywhere but Florida because it's dependent on the state education vouchers. So the rest of the denomination has to kind of figure out, okay, is it going to be sort of Lloyd and Zeeland with their kind of young, restless, and reformed Dutch PCA model? Or is it going to be like Christ Church Davis here in Sacramento, which is much more sort of Anglo-Catholic model in terms of, a very developed liturgy, following the lectionary. It's not full-fledged trad-cath or Orthodox. It's more Anglican. And because that's sort of where the churches on the coasts that are in a place like Davis, that's where they're going. And it's very TLC. In terms of what they're looking for in church. But then in the Midwest, you've got a lot of churches that are still sort of doing the seeker model, more evangelical. So there's all those tensions that the CRC has to sort out.
I have some questions about the Florida model. Are CRC schools exclusively for CRC members?
No.
Is it mostly CRC members who send their kids to the schools?
Well, what happens is that usually conservative-ish, and when I say conservative-ish, I don't mean necessarily politically conservative. I mean children of immigrants from Cuba and the Dominican Republic and all kinds of other places. They look at the public schools. And even in Florida, they look at the public schools and they're like, it's chaos. And then they find in the Christian Reformed Church a very competent religious community that's going to offer an education with a religiously light touch. They're not going to hammer on, particular distinctives, but they're going to be very moral. They're going to be very put together. They're going to be, this is a school of order, and you get a fat $8,000 plus voucher for the school. And so what basically Scott has managed to do is not only leverage what had been sort of a dying CRC community in Florida, but leverage a lot of other CRC money in Michigan and say, we're going to build a Christian school. We're going to fund it with the Christian school voucher. And every place we build a Christian school, we are going to plant a church in that school. And the parents are maybe not going to any church anywhere else, but they like the education, they like the people, and they're like, we go here 5 days a week, why not 6? And then the churches start to grow. And that model's not going to work in California. California's not going to have $8,000 school vouchers.
Okay, let me get back to that, but I have another question. Are all the teachers CRC members?
See, now this is where so Scott has had to sort of build the food chain up. So basically, yes, and he wants these teachers trained with basically the same training regime that we've had for our Christian Reformed schools around the country. So he's basically rebuilding the Christian Reformed Church from the school out in Florida, and you can do this financially because of this voucher program. So then suddenly it's like you've got the public school, and then you've got these Christian schools that are run sort of like by Pentecostals and, and sort of a little more secular people look at that and they're like, they're speaking in tongues. They're just a little, and they go to the Christian Reform School and it's like, these people are middle class, they're in order, they give a good education. That's a better option than the, flighty charismatic people. So
this was one of the surprising things. I was listening to the Messy Reformation podcast, and one of the why are you surprised? I had to get my CRC Synod chops up. I mean, in June I have to cover it like any other channel.
like any other Iranian Jew in LA, I've got to watch the CRC.
I have to service my clientele. I mean, last year it was actually very difficult running the live streams during CRC. I had other stuff to do, but I knew people needed it. So what am I going to do? This year it'll be easier because I just graduated. Unless I get a job by then we'll see. Anyway, back to CRC. So I was very surprised when I heard him say, would you have somebody who's not a Christian teach your kid in school? I was like, oh, I have never, even the most solidly Orthodox, Haredi, ultra Orthodox schools, they still generally have people who are at least aren't religiously Jewish, but oftentimes Gentiles teaching things like math and science. But you guys don't do that at all.
This is the whole reason for Calvin and Dorr, and it's the whole reason for the college system. So your children will be trained exclusively by Reformed Christians.
Interesting.
It's the whole reason that the CRC did its own Christian day schools.
Huh. Okay. Did you hear about what happened in New York with Hochul? She announced they're going to do vouchers.
Wow. Well,
yeah.
The public schools are that bad.
Well, our schools in California aren't much better.
No, but the teachers union, of which my wife benefits, of which I benefit, because I have wonderful health insurance thanks to our strong California public school teachers unions.
There is a real shift going on. And when I saw the Hochul, she's announced that New York is going to accept the I knew this would be a big thing when you started talking about the Florida model and how it can't work anywhere else. If it could work in New York State.
Well, what's interesting is, I was just joking about these elections, but I think a lot of Californians, there may be, I don't know who's going to win, but there may be a surprise when votes are counted, because California is. I got an echo. Is that me or you?
I don't hear an echo.
Did one of your mics shut off? Oh, now I don't hear.
Yeah,
There it is.
I turned off my mic, so it must be me.
So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this crazy election.
Yeah. And did you hear Guy and I speak about the British elections? I think you. I mean, I'm giving you a bunch of stuff to listen to on my channel, but my discussion with Stelios on Sunday. I actually, I mean, I want to get him and John Vervaeke to talk, because he's a presenter on the Lotus Eaters, which is,
Oh, I know who they are.
yeah. But Stelios is he's a PhD in philosophy, and he wrote a dissertation on free will, which is incredibly interesting and goes into cognitive science in ways that I don't think Stelios himself is aware of. I was asking Yosef about it, and Yosef was like, his entire commentary was comparing and contrasting Stelios with Vervaeke. Yeah. So Stelios, I mean, he's brilliant. He's a philosopher and I'm not into philosophy, but he's talking about compatibilism and justification, but not theological compatibilism and justification, philosophical justification, and right. And it's like, yeah, I see how they're related and we're using the same words, but we're talking about two very different things, right? And so yeah, reading his dissertation, I mean, I invited him on before I read his dissertation, and I haven't read through the entire dissertation because, frankly, it's too high level philosophy for me. But I actually would love to see him more engaged with Vervaeke. So that's Stelios. What was the other thing I was going to mention to you? Oh, the beginning of this stream, Guy came on, and we actually spent quite a time talking about British politics.
I'm very interested in that because I know that, I mean, I had to figure out their system, their local elections. There's this massive landslide, or sea change rather, and Sturmer is like, I'm not resigning. But
oh no, like, he's resigning. He's gone.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was wondering. I asked Guy. He's like, he's toast.
Wow.
Yeah, and Guy decided not to stand for election this year for some weird reason. He's too busy with his full-time job to stand for election. But yeah, Guy knows this stuff. I mean, he comes from, so he's a liberal Democrat, which is I don't know how much you know about the parties, but it's like the little sister of the Labor Party. So they made gains from all of the people who decided not to vote Labor, but couldn't go full hog and do reform or conservative or any of the other things, right? Yeah, no, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in the world.
Yeah.
We live in interesting times, Paul. It's your fault.
It's your fault, Jacob. Your fault.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
maybe I'll make a Synod video then. You inspired me to just get a few thoughts in. Because I think, I don't know, it's going to be, it's not going to have the drama of past years, but it's going to be interesting.
I thought, I mean, what I thought would be bigger deals would be the multi-site churches and stuff. but that's when I decided to go listen to the Messianic Reformation to see what people were saying, and I don't know. I think there's a lot of stuff going on. Oh, by the way, the New York Times Daily, I could only listen to like 5 minutes of it, but it's the type of thing you're gonna love. Talking.
There's some of it in tomorrow's homeroom.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's and again, I look at, and Rod just made the point. People are looking at this thinking that liberalism is going away. I don't think liberalism is going away. I think it's going to change, but people are still going to want the religious liberty that they have. I don't think people are going to be giving that up anytime soon. The questions are going to be, how can new binding agents hold groups of people together for the world to still work? And
Hezi has a very definite answer, and they're having a World Congress in Jerusalem in a few months. So Hezi thinks he has the perfect answer to your questions.
I love Hezi. I love Hezi. How can you not love that man? I mean,
look,
though he may be,
I kept on complaining, not enough messianism, and then I get Hezi, and I'm like, oh God, I got what I wanted.
Oh, God love you all.
He's even more messianist than I am.
All right, Jacob. I'm going to make a Senate video.
Okay. Have fun.
Right. Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. I have no idea who this Corax is. I'm afraid it might be Claire. We'll see. I might have to take this off, but let's see. Corax.
Right. What's up?
Well, your mic's kind of loud.
Oh.
But yeah, my mic apparently is also being bad. So who are you and what are you doing here?
Well, I go by the handle Corax.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the Corvid, ravens and stuff.
I have no idea.
A handle on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel with that name.
Okay, and what's your YouTube channel about?
Oh, it's just various short clips and stuff. It's kind of artsy fartsy, I guess.
Artsy fartsy. Okay.
Yeah.
What made you decide to jump onto my channel?
I've been lurking around the TLC for a while.
Okay.
Just paying attention to the different people.
Okay. Any views?
And getting a little bit into religious stuff.
Okay.
Kind of ortho bro adjacent, I guess.
Okay, so you're not.
I'm not Orthodox, but I listen to a lot of those.
Are you Christian?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay,
I'm kind of. I'm kind of new to this whole.
You're new to Christianity or new to these discussions?
Yeah, no, I mean, kind of the whole religious paradigm, I guess.
Okay.
I was raised very, very secular and kind of, kind of a true believer in evolution and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Are you American?
No, Norwegian.
Norwegian. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So Norwegian culture, from the little I know about it, is quite secular.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's it's a Lutheran country, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Nominally, but
Yeah.
but yeah, it's not really it's not a very religious country.
May I
feels
ask?
like we're kind of sliding back into some pagan territory almost, like Thor and Odin,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
May I ask, how old are you?
I'm in my 30s.
In your 30s. Okay. And are you seriously like thinking about religion, or like in terms of wanting to join a church or something, or are you more exploring the ideas behind it? What's going on? I mean, I could ask you questions forever. It's up to you how much you want to dox yourself and tell us, but I'm all ears.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons for, kind of just one thing is like the whole like materialism and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned like evolution, like when a lot of these discussions I see around evolution, it seems like kind of religious discussions in itself, like that it explains everything.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it kind of falling out of love with the like scientism and I mean I like a lot of scientific topics and computer science and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Electrical engineering and tinkering with electronics, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like looking at the smartphone culture and how it kind of has zombified
Mm-hmm.
us in a lot of ways, and yeah, kind of algorithmic control,
Mm-hmm.
almost like controlling what people think, and yeah, I mean, you're probably pretty familiar with all these topics in the TLC.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we talk about, but each person has a different way of approaching it. And it sounds to me like you come from a very I mean, I can't say typical, but a background that a lot of us have seen, and you're asking a lot of the same questions that a lot of people, specifically. I mean, I'm thinking about Job. I don't know how much you know about Job, not the book Job, the person who, he's from, I want to say the Netherlands. I believe he's from the Netherlands, and he was very involved in everything here about 8 years ago now. And what happened was that he started as an atheist, and he started looking into Christianity, and he was still an atheist, but he was very involved with Paul Vanderklay, and eventually he starts going to church, and he and his wife start having kids, and they make him an elder in his church, and he became so involved in real life church and everything, including his kids, that we barely see him around here. But it sounds like a very similar trajectory to what you're talking about right now.
Yeah. And you know, it's yeah, like the past 10 years have been kind of a wild ride as well politically. That was kind of a wake up call. Just looking at some of the political issues of the day and of the past, and you know, and dialectics, stuff like that, left and right.
So I don't know much about Norwegian politics. Are you talking specifically Norway or globally or the United States?
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of the weird thing as well. I've kind of always had my eyes toward America for some reason. So paying attention to the political stuff there. I've never really been like a local politics guy, I guess. But I've been reading up a little bit on that as well. I mean, Norway is kind of we've been kind of a geopolitical, I wouldn't say big player, but you know, we go to the big conferences in the Bilderbergs and you know, the Stoltenberg dynasty, you know, those guys. They're kind of in the mix.
It's funny, but I watched a documentary on Iran International. It's in Farsi. I don't think it's available in English, talking about the best run and worst run countries in the world, and kind of from an Iranian perspective of, okay, you have all this oil wealth. How do you use it well, and how do you use it poorly? And it gave Norway as the example of the best run country in the world, and Venezuela as the worst run. Obviously, they were basing it on, okay, how do you interact with you know, finding lots of oil in your country, and the extraction economy, and what do you do with the sovereign wealth? But yeah, that was a very interesting documentary. I unfortunately, unless you speak Farsi, I don't think you can watch it.
No, sadly not. No Farsi or Arabic or Semitic languages here. I would like to learn one of those though.
So Farsi is actually Germanic. I mean, Indo-Iranian.
Oh yeah. It's part of that big family. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, was there anything you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I had a bunch of topics, I guess. But now I kind of got like the jernteppe. Yeah, that's a Norwegian term. Like when you forget what you have on your mind, it's called the iron carpet.
Okay.
Jernteppe.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's the last 5 years have been kind of it's kind of interesting and kind of terrible in a lot of ways. And with the whole global, like it feels like 2019 was kind of the last normal year before like something big happened, I guess.
Mm.
And I can yeah, like 2019 I read a bunch of stuff and kind of kind of got a bad feeling about the world, and potential futures, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like a lot of those bad feelings came true in a lot of ways.
Mm.
Yeah. That's also kind of why I've been looking to these spaces,
Mm-hmm.
like religious spaces,
Yeah.
and kind of looking for spaces that kind of that's not so much part of like left and right stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was like politically, I was kind of in a libertarian phase
Mm-hmm.
for a while. That
Yeah.
is kind of a holding pattern, I guess. A lot of those guys don't really believe in anything except like hedonism, and I mean, I won't condemn all libertarians. There are many fine people there, but it's not really a complete philosophy.
Yeah, there tends to be a lot of materialism there, and materialism tends to devolve into hedonism.
Yeah, but I mean, there is some interesting philosophies kind of emanating from that sphere, like some of the anarchist stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Have some interesting thinker like Ernst Junger. He was kind of an anarchist.
Not familiar.
He wrote the he wrote the book about the trench war called the Storm of Steel. So yeah, he was kind of I think he kind of coined the concept called the anarch, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like a free man, if like kind of a Nietzschean type, I guess.
I see. Okay.
But yeah, like and I see it very clearly now as well, like the left and right stuff, and they are like I've been kind of frustrated about like Epstein stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
What about it
seems like-
exactly?
huh?
What about it exactly?
Well, it seems like in America, there is very little focus on the stuff like the opioid epidemic,
Mm-hmm.
which is a very I mean, it seems like it wrecks whole towns, whole states. Like when I see someone on fentanyl, they literally turn into a zombie,
Mm-hmm.
basically. So it seems like like the death rate's just been going up and up and up, and no one's really talking about it.
To some extent, yeah.
They it seems like everyone wants to talk about Epstein, like
Right.
the stuff that went on that island with that kind of weird temple.
Yeah.
And I've been hearing people just telling me that, telling me about the rituals going on that island, but I can't really find evidence for that stuff.
So, I mean, Vervaeke talks a lot about relevance realization, and I think you're 100% correct if I'm understanding what you're saying, that people are talking about, Epstein and rituals and Satanists, etc. And when you look at the statistics, the United States life expectancy recently started going down as opposed to going up, and that's mostly attributable to the opioid crisis, which you are absolutely right is a crisis which should be at the forefront of American conversation. And to some extent, it's not. You're right about that, especially, you go on the internet, nobody's talking about the opioid crisis, none of the influencers, etc. Now, I do know that when it comes down to, and for me, one of the reasons I decided to go into first become a substance abuse counselor and then go into mental health was precisely because of the, relevance realization thing that you're talking about. Like, yeah, the opioid crisis is a real thing that is reducing life expectancy overall in the United States. It's an actual crisis we should be paying attention to, right? But the fact is that vast majority of serious people, right, like epidemiologists like Jay Bhattacharya, who I would say is one of the people that, I have a lot of hope for. He decided to go on Twitter during COVID, and he was throttled. He was basically censored. But now he's the head of the National Institutes of Health. So the question becomes, Jay Bhattacharya is not as well known even as Robert Kennedy Jr. or as, I don't know, Hassan Piker, right? These influencers that everybody talks about, but who actually has their hand on the levers of control? Well, Jay Bhattacharya is controlling a lot of what goes on in the United States, which I'm actually happy about, right? So there's definitely a disconnect, and I think this is why you end up with populism, right? So populism, I would say, is a symptom of seeing that the elites fail to actually talk about what's most important, right? If you were to ask the presidents of major American universities, especially today with politics, they would say diversity, equity, inclusion, the race problems, those are the biggest problems in the United States. No, actually, the opioid crisis should definitely be way up there, right? And because of that disconnect between our intellectuals and what is going on in reality, you end up with a wave of populism. And unfortunately, populism is not a good substitute for competent elites leading your society in a meritocracy, right? Meritocracy is definitely superior to populism. but a corrupt meritocracy like we've, and I have to say this, okay, we see a level of corruption in our government and in our elites that we did not see before. That doesn't mean that these institutions are more corrupt than they were before we had all of the capacity to see corruption that we do now. Now, with computers, the internet, with everybody having a camera in their pocket and an audio recorder in their pocket constantly.
Slave device.
Well, you can call it a slave device, but it's authoritarian. It's like, if you want to be an authoritarian, this is like the fact I carry this around. You can know everything about my life. So we are seeing a lot more corruption, right, than was visible 60, 70, 80 years ago. Sorry, my dog wants my attention. So I don't believe that there exists more corruption now than used to exist 50, 60, 70 years ago. I believe it is more visible, and we are adjusting to that level of visibility. And part of the reaction to that is populism. And there's going to be a need for, hopefully, we get to a point where the transparency and meritocracy is at a level where, once again, we can trust our elites. We have to get there. The question is, how do we do that? And I think the reason why religion becomes the focal point is because of what Vervaeke calls religio, right? Which is that which binds, right? All of the earliest cities were built around temples. In order to actually have communities of trust, I think you do need religious rebinds, technically. Yeah. The word bind isn't correct. These ties between people, and that's why we're getting into religion so much. But go ahead.
Yeah, kind of religion as a psychotechnology or something.
Exactly. Yes. And it's an important psychotechnology, and it's a source of wisdom, and it helps us have good relevance realization, right? Talking about Jeffrey Epstein, although frankly, I'm not beyond talking, saying Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. He didn't, right? That's something people need to kind of recognize. But you're absolutely right that the point is to have a relevance realization where the United States government, for example, recognizes that one of the major threats to public health in the United States is the opioid crisis. But I would say if you look into what's actually going on, not the hype, right? Okay, where is money being spent in the United States health care system? Where is it being spent in the public health care system? There is real focus on the opioid crisis, which does not reflect on the front page of the New York Times.
Yeah, a lot of workers allocated to that field.
A lot of workers, a lot of money, a lot of research, and it's certainly important. And And, you know, I talk to people who are, I have a lot of family members who are very involved in the healthcare system. It's not that the opioid crisis isn't recognized by the people who are actually working in it. It's that the general population is much more interested in knowing, you know, who Nicki Minaj is dating and whether Rihanna got beat up by her husband than they are talking about the opioid crisis. But as long as you have a properly oriented hierarchy in your society, which is something we're having to reorient, that's not a huge problem. It's fine if people are being entertained, if you can actually trust the elites to be doing their jobs. Unfortunately, that's what we've lost confidence in.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta admit, I kind of had a phase where I thought like Epstein stuff was a little more prevalent than it probably is. Like that the elites are, you know, doing that stuff all the time. So I was kind of, you know, kind of a conspiracy guy for a while there, and I'm kind of still am, but it's a more realistic. I just call it just parapolitical studies now, like Peter Dale Scott, stuff like that, and he writes a lot about you know, the drug smuggling in, for example, in Vietnam, and also Afghanistan, that whole region.
Yeah,
like how heroin basically, I mean, a lot of the opioid deaths I realize is from fentanyl and stuff, but heroin seems to be kind of it played a big role in the geopolitics of the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And honestly, I have to say there is a place for conspiratorial thinking when you're dealing with a society where you've lost trust. And it's not like people have lost trust for no good reason. They've lost trust for good reason. People, so it's funny, but like I try to explain to people, paranoia isn't just a malfunction of the brain. Paranoia is a function of the brain. It's something we do to protect ourselves when we are in danger. And conspiratorial type thinking has its place. Now, when there's very little danger, right, there's a problem of possible moral panic, et cetera, right? But when there is real danger, it's not abnormal or even bad for people to be kind of conspiratorially thinking. The question becomes, at what point can they really start grounding that distrust in a real place, right? What's actually going on that's causing the danger to me? And yeah, again, it's like if we can find a new stasis. Hey, Ron.
Hey, Jacob.
If we can find a new stasis where we have trust enough that we can go about our own lives without wondering what is the corruption in our elites. But to see corruption in your elites should trigger some degree of paranoia. That's normal and good, actually. I would say. How you doing, Ron?
Good.
Like
First off, what is it's Corax? I don't think I've ever talked with you before. Hello.
hello.
Hi, Jacob. Hello. First off, hope you're well. So this, my church has a body count, a pretty high one, and it's from opiates. And so when you talk about these things, I know cocaine comes from the cartels, and I'm not trying to be anti-government, but I know for a while back in the 80s, the government was turning a blind eye to allow the it was the Contras, I think, that were
Yeah,
pipelining.
the Iran Contra stuff.
Yeah, well, and yeah, I know. So my question is, for the opioids, I totally agree with everything you're saying, and I don't understand it, but is it not stopping because someone's making way too much money?
There definitely are people making too much money. And there definitely are people who are making some money. And that is one, I would say, actually small contributing factor. Anytime you're talking about a social problem like that, you're going to, there's no one cause. There are multiple causes, right? So one of them is there are people who are making money, and there are.
Okay.
Another one is China, like, and this is again, I would say a small factor, right?
Yeah.
China is quite happy to see the United States have an opioid crisis, much like they did during the Opium Wars, and I think they are in fact instigating it with the replacement of fentanyl, which is very easy to make, and China is apparently helping make it easier to exist in the United States. But let's face the biggest problem. The biggest problem is the demand for substances. And that is the meaning crisis, right? People are turning to substances because they hate their life. They're depressed, they're anxious, they're bored, they're all of these things, right? And that, I would say, is the largest driver. But there are multiple drivers.
Right. Well, so here's the deal, because since we're on public radio, so to speak, I'll be like, the cocaine epidemic profoundly hit me in my neighborhood. Like there was a direct connection between Colombian cartels and my high school, just because big high school, it was in the Cleveland, Ohio area. You had Ford, Chrysler, GM, United Steel, and the shipyards. So huge amounts of money. And I get that, but what really bothered me, well, actually what it is, what I realized when the CIA was allowing cocaine to come into my neighborhood because it was funding a war. And I hope I'm not making it too oversimplified, but, and if I am, correct me, but I also wonder if the opioid is something that simple. I know you say it's complicated, but I think if you wanted to stop it, you could. So why isn't it being stopped? And if I'm making it way too simple, please correct me.
I don't think if you want I don't think if you want to stop it, you could. Right?
Okay.
That's the thing. Right? Prohibition during alcohol prohibition was a real thing in our history. Right?
Right.
So there is some level of you can stop it coming in, but if there's a demand for it, there's some level of there's no way you're going to stop it.
Okay, I
Right?
do agree with you. I do agree with you. Okay, I got you. Yes.
So
So-
again, I mean, I don't think you can make it down to one thing, right?
Okay.
Are there people who don't want to stop it? Yeah, I have to say, at least here in California, there is a certain strain of people who are like, and they won't say it, but they very obviously believe it, which is, oh, if somebody wants to end their life by overdosing on cheap opiates, then
Yeah.
okay, let them. I would rather they not be around.
Right.
Okay.
Well, yeah. All right, I'm listening. Gotcha.
There's definitely that, at least here in California, which is driving more policy than anybody wants to admit. Right?
Really?
There's definitely people in certainly local government here in California who are like, well, if we stopped having all these homeless people taking all the drugs that they're taking, they would be a bigger problem. And we have a lot of them who overdose and die, but like, who am I to say no?
So it's a kind of a population control method.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Better than it's Soylent Green without making them into food.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's like these are people who we can't help. I mean, I remember when I was in junior high school, one of my teachers said there's only one cure for a drug addict, and that's a bullet.
Wow. All right. Well, that's just evil. You know, that's,
It
that's-
is, but when you live in California and you're a secular materialist, and you don't believe in the holiness of the human soul and the possibility of redemption, etc.
Right.
There, this is the thing. Any human, like any large enough human social problem, has a confluence of multiple reasons for it. It's not any one thing. And we want to try to reduce it to one thing. And frankly, it never is that simple. It never is that simple.
Yeah, I am agreeing with you, because even when I said it, I'm like, I'm not okay. So here we are. So, and I'm sorry, I just interrupt you. I apologize. So please.
No, you didn't. No, go ahead.
So then, all right, let's go to Vervaeke then. So then the issue of always winds up with God. It's an existential question. Existence, meaning, purpose. I don't know. So what do you think of John Vervaeke, and what do you think? I do think it's a spiritual, God, what's the word I'm trying to find out? I think you're right. It is a spiritual issue thing, and it hurts my heart right now that I'm not going directly towards it, because I was an addict, not like heroin, but I was a hot mess before I came to faith. And it was only after faith that I got freed from all the junk, and now I have meaning and purpose in my life. So I'd have to agree with Vervaeke in framing it that it is a meaning crisis. So until you fix the frame or the meaning,
I think that is the largest driver the largest driver, the largest single driver is the demand.
Right.
And
Okay.
the demand for all this stuff, whether it's THC or alcohol or whatever, to the
Right.
point where you're basically risking your life. Like
Right.
there are people who are committing suicide using opioids every day.
Right.
And it's the question becomes, which day do they actually successfully commit suicide, as opposed to all the other days where they only dull the pain for a few hours,
Right.
right?
Right. Okay.
So I would say that's the number one factor, right?
Right.
I wouldn't say it's the only factor.
But it could be the major one.
I think it's definitely a bigger factor than the idea that like there are people who are financially benefiting, because look, let's say you shut down the fentanyl market, right? What I see more than fentanyl and opioids in the hospitals is meth.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude.
At least around here, we see a lot of crystal meth.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people. Yeah.
No, here as well. It is. Yeah, you're right. It's okay. My mind is just boggled by it, because that, to me, even as a hippie, I'm like, you guys are nuts. Like, but then again, if you don't care and you feel good for a little bit, and it'll only cost you $5 a hit or whatever it is nowadays. I don't know. I understand what you're saying. You just dull the pain and maybe die. I don't think most of them are intending to die, but I think numbing the pain, though, does hit the mark. So what does Vervaeke say that you can agree with that would be a solution? Or is
Well,
it?
I 100% agree that it's a meaning crisis.
Okay.
I do believe that the opiate crisis is involved with the meaning crisis. The two are related, right? But
yeah,
when you say everything goes back to God, well, I think that's a tautology, because God is the basis of all. He is the uncaused cause, right? And anytime you are asking the question why over and over again, you will always end up with the answer God.
Right. Correct. Okay.
And that's a good thing.
Right.
Which is why, I mean, one of my focuses, foci, is God and theology. I think you ultimately have to end up there.
Right.
Regardless of what the question is.
Right. I think, yeah. So you think in the near distant future, the God thing is going to ramp up big in society? The quest for God?
I think it already has to some extent. I mean, like PBK was saying, like the New York Times, their podcast, The Daily, is the most listened to podcast, I believe, in the world. Like, I don't like, it's definitely way up there, right?
Okay.
And today's episode was on the revival in religion.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So there is definitely that aspect. I think some people overblow it. But yeah, ultimately, I think part of what the setting our society back to rights is going to involve is recognizing the importance of the holy.
Right. Huh. Okay. Well, I do agree with that because at least in my world, that was a given. Like anytime I deal with someone coming out of a addiction or any kind of new age, or even a spirit, like an emotional, a profound emotional distress, I always go towards God, and if they're going to talk with me, that's what they're going to get, and it usually, I'll be honest, God works if you, even if you just follow His principles, you know, it's almost like a tomato plant being tied to a lattice. Even if you don't believe in the lattice, but you just do it out of just because, like, what the heck, let's just do this. You'll have some good benefit. I think and I'm asking as well as saying it, I think the long term grafted in part of religion in a person's life has to be in some way experiential. At least that's the way I see it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I definitely think. Look, it's all nice and well to read your Bible and pray, but I mean, it all goes back to Mark 12, right? Mark 12 is one of the places where I read the Christian Bible and like my mouth was agape because it was like, okay, the Christians have this. Why aren't they paying attention? Because, Jesus, I mean, he's basically quoting from Hillel. This is basic Judaism, right? What are the two basic what is the greatest commandment, right? Love the Lord your God. And the second one is like it. Love your fellow as yourself, right? And upon these two rests the entirety of the law, right? So, like, if people recognized that, I think we would be living in a very different world than we're living in. But it's not something most people focus on. Like tomorrow, I'm having a Christian on who, he runs a Bible study, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I let him pick the topic, and his topic is he wants to talk about like the afterlife and what it's necessary to have eternal salvation, et cetera, right? It's like, okay, we can have that discussion, but that's not a discussion about how you live your life. That's a discussion about how you're going to live in the afterlife, right?
Yeah.
And it's like if you're more focused on the afterlife than this world, that's not good.
Yeah. Dude, like just between me, you, and the internet, that kind of stuff bothers me immensely. I'm all about plant your vineyards now, deal with your heart now. Why are you? And then if you can't deal with your heart now, ask God to help, and let's get involved. Let's do this now. Anyhow, I'm cool for having them on, but I think I don't know why Christians, and I have seen this a lot, why they aren't more loving, to be honest with you, and why they're not making contact with God. And I should be very careful because I could be very judgmental at this point. And also, more so than anything, love God with your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. I don't know why it's not tattooed on everyone's cerebellum.
Yeah. Okay. My dog is having conniption fits, so
we don't want that.
Any last words before I shut off the stream?
No, thanks for letting me rant.
Yeah.
What about you, Corax?
No, thanks for the convo. By the way, I've been listening to some of your sparring sessions with Father Stephen. And I've
Okay.
been enjoying those.
Hopefully, Father Stephen will have time to come on more often, and I'll have more time to do streams. But that'll have to wait until Mr. Man stops. Okay, I will talk to you guys later. Bye, people. I'm going to use host's prerogative to put the Reverend Parcells to bed because he does need to get up in the morning.
Sorry, Reverend. Thank you.
But before he goes, I have a question. Let's say, God forbid, that I were to burn somebody at the stake for not being a Trinitarian. And I did not repent of that. Is that a salvation issue?
Sometimes Jacob takes that devil's advocate thing too
Isn't there a
far.
proverb that says something like "Don't answer a fool according to his folly."
But there's a proverb that says, answer a fool according to his folly.
There is. Exactly right. And I'm going to leave it to you guys to determine, which of those was applicable in this situation as I go. So, but anyhow, good.
Thank you, Reverend.
Good to
Thank
chat
you.
with you all.
Thank you.
Good night.
The